Alright, brief off-camera map, I'm going to be going over my opponent's responses and in that responding to my case. So first she talks about how I'm actually comparing the two movie franchises, but comparing the characterization of one female character to another female character is not the same thing as comparing the franchises as a whole. Now she talks about how the acting was bad and how everybody was just so emotionless and how robotic Obi-Wan acted when he was telling Padme about how Anakin slaughtered the young ones. He's a Jedi, that's their whole shtick. Essentially what the Jedi Order does is it teaches people to suppress emotions. So when we're talking about the bad acting, it can be characterized, number one, as the Jedi character, but also Ewan McGregor and Natalie Portman are two of the most iconic actors of our age. So they weren't bad actors. They were acting with what they were being given. And those movies are still absolutely incredible because of their acting and the way that they portray the characters. Then she talks about how the CGI is sloppy and how there's mistakes with the editing, and then brings up Lord of the Rings. The CGI is sloppy because it's the early 2000s and CGI wasn't exactly completely well known yet, especially with the extent that they were using it for. Especially with things like Lord of the Rings, where it was famous for its practical effects and not using a ton of CGI. Even with the mistakes with editing, there's plenty of that within Lord of the Rings, such as Orlando Bloom's eyes being totally different colors in different shots because people just forgot to tell him to put his contacts in. So when we're, again, trying to look at these two franchises and compare them, they were both made in the early 2000s, but they were totally different in terms of how they were being styled. And then she talks about how the acting and the storylines were confusing and muddled, and how there was 3 different main characters. Yeah, there was 3 different main characters, but that doesn't make them bad movies. The storylines weren't muddled, and they were told completely clearly, with each character having a pretty wrapped up story at the end of it. And then she talked about how there was sort of this retcon on the Force with the midichlorians. However, it didn't destroy what was previously known. It didn't destroy the fantasy element of it. It simply elaborated on it, because if the Force is all around, it would make sense that there would be some sort of biological entity inside of someone that makes them more in tune to the Force. Again, this isn't necessarily destroying the fantasy. It's not putting back on anything that they had said previously. They were simply elaborating on it, and that's what makes these movies good movies. Thank you.